What are some of the stations you've voiced over for?
The current one, which I've been doing now since 1993, which is the jewel in the crown, so to speak, is 1010 Wins in New York, the all-news station, which was the first news station in the nation in 1965. And they had a slogan, which was all news all the time. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world, which they started back then.
All news all the time. This is 1010 Wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good morning. It's 48 degrees at 6 o'clock on this Tuesday, October 27th.
They hired a guy to do that. He did it for 22 years. And a guy called me from New York, assistant news director, worked in Washington, said, I'd like you to audition for this thing because we're changing the liners. It's called a liner. So I said, fine. He said, do you know about 1010 Wins? And I said, all news, all news. That's it. That's what we're trying to do. They hired me to do it because this guy had died 2 years previous. And they wanted to make a transition because they were paying his estate or something, Anyway, I ended up doing it, and it was February 26, 1993. I can tell you the date. I have never seen these people since. I went to New York to do it. They run it 3 times an hour, 24 hours a day, round the clock, and they've been running it since 1993.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
So when it came time to get paid, I called the union up and I said, what do I charge these people for this? They said, well, are you ever going to do it again? I said, I don't know, but it doesn't appear to be that way. And they uttered a word that union people never utter. They said, why don't you give them a buyout? Buyout is not a word they use. I said, what do we charge? He says, charge them $5,000 and say goodbye. So I had that in the back of my mind, that I would be able, that was the ace in the hole. They called me and they said, what do you want to get paid for this? I said, how did the other guy work it? Figured, He said, every 13 weeks, we paid him, gave him a check for a residual. So I said, let me talk to my agent. My agent says that's a very good deal. I think we could go for that. He says, but there's a problem with it. I said, oh, here it comes. What's the problem? He said, sometimes because this station is so prominent and because Woody Allen is doing a movie and there's a kitchen scene and they're having breakfast, the radio in the movie will be on, and to give it a New York flavor, they'll have all news all the time, and you are due another payment for that because it's not the originally intended use, which is true.
They brought this up themselves?
Yes. And he said, I don't want to be responsible for not paying you because I don't know about it. So what I'm going to suggest to you, to cover those instances where this happens, and it will happen, he said, is I'm going to suggest to you that we pay you double scale every 13 weeks, and then that'll cover it, whenever they do use it. I said, let me talk to my agent, As my agent says, well, I don't know, but I said, I think it's okay. We'll do that. So for how many years? 17 years, 20, whatever. For as long as it's been, every 13 weeks, I get a check for that.